Now at 4, ending DEI in Indiana. The programs and initiatives cut and why one DEI expert says DEI shouldn't divide us but bring us together.
And temperatures climb to near 90 degrees and the humidity continues, but it doesn't mean storms are going to be a sure sign every single day. I'll explain.
And added drama in Texas as accusations swirl about a delayed alert just ahead of the catastrophic flooding. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
Good afternoon. Great to have you with us here at 4 o'clock. I'm Dustin Grove.
And I'm Felicia Lawrence. Also ahead, a rare visit to Indy today by a member of the Supreme Court. So we are going to hear from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and why she was here. Coming up.
Looking forward to that. Also, Indianapolis Colts legend Peyton Manning back in the headlines. Off the field and in front of the camera. We'll tell you how he's hoping to get some laughs out of a brand new partnership that's ahead as well.
Some big names we're going to hear from. Now to that news, though, from the governor's office today. We've learned hundreds of state grant programs, trainings, and initiatives have now been eliminated.
This is all part of Governor Braun's directive to replace diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Logan Gay has been busy today. She's been combing through 135 pages of this report, joins us now. And this is really fulfilling that directive that the governor issued back in January to replace DEI with merit, excellence, and innovation. So what'd you find, Logan?
Well, Dustin, like you mentioned, so Governor Braun is actually using a landmark Supreme Court case that's based on a race-based admissions as kind of the blueprint for this initiative. Now, like you mentioned, I combed through all those documents and the programs that have been revised and eliminated. The governor says the executive order directed state agencies to review their DEI positions, departments, activities, procedures, and that decision. So I'm going to lay out a few items from the report. In this report, his office said they found more than 350 examples of DEI initiatives and state government programs. They eliminated 70 cases of DEI trainings for state employees. They opened up 34 state agency grants to all Hoosiers that were conditioned on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And 200 DEI state initiatives, he said, will now prioritize the values of merit, excellence, and things that Braun said will bring people together rather than the things that divide us. However, I spoke with a DEI professional who said DEI is the definition of bringing people together, not dividing them, because all people are diverse, and that DEI does not mean unqualified.
We have to be mindful of the myths out there, such as this person only got the job because of their skin color. No, if anything, because they were able to get that job despite their skin color, they're probably really a rock star. Right? They had to overcome a lot of barriers to even get that job and keep that job and perform well in the role as well.
Okay, so what other misconceptions did he mention about DEI?
Well, like he mentioned, or like I mentioned earlier, all DEI, everyone's diverse. So that includes women, it includes veterans, it includes people with different disabilities, it includes age, gender, everything. So this really does impact more people than what most people might think. And I'll actually be going into that at 5.
I think it's interesting when you talk about the DEI elimination, it's more than just words. I think some people might have thought, okay, we're going to eliminate phrases that have something to do with DEI, but this is actually, as you found, programs and initiatives and trainings.
Absolutely. Programs, initiatives, trainings, jobs, everything. So a lot of people impacted, and we'll have the full documents on our website as well. But at 5, I'll be going into more of the grants and everything that's been impacted.
Okay, and to your point, not just race, a lot of stuff. All right, thank you.
The U.S. Supreme Court's most junior justice was here in Indianapolis this afternoon.
Yeah, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson told a crowd of attorneys, judges, and their family and friends that she's, quote, not afraid to use her voice. 13 Investigates reporter Sierra Putman was there.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson spoke here in front of more than 1,000 people at the Indiana Convention Center about her book, but also her concern for our democracy.
Attendees at the luncheon held by the Indianapolis Bar Association received a copy of the Justice's book, Lovely One. The majority of her conversation with Judge Jane Magnus Stinson focused on how her family and mentors helped her reach the highest court of the land. Toward the end, Justice Jackson spoke about her time on the Supreme Court. In 3 years, she has become known for her ability to write frank dissents, often opposing the court's conservative majority. Most recently, she wrote the High Court's decision to severely limit universal injunctions. Blocking potentially unconstitutional laws or executive orders is, quote, an existential threat to the rule of law. Justice Jackson spoke about how she decides to submit a dissent.
And it's because I feel like I might have something to offer and something to add, and I'm not afraid to use my voice. So, it really depends on the issue and the circumstances. Yeah.
The Indy Bar says it sold 1,060 tickets for this event. Sierra Putman, 13 Investigates.
All right, Sierra, thank you. Happening today in about an hour from now, you're going to have the opportunity to get some free legal help. Wayne Township is hosting this clinic. It starts at 5, goes till 7 at the Community Action of Greater Indianapolis. Anybody's welcome to walk in and meet with a lawyer about a civil legal case, not a criminal, but a civil legal case. So anything from housing to tenant rights to employment, child support, you name it. Lawyers will also be able to review any legal or medical documents you bring along. More help for Central Texas today. The FEMA task force set up that command center right there at an RV resort to help the families and communities impacted by last week's deadly flash flooding. Meanwhile, 120 deaths have been reported, and the search continues for nearly 200 still missing.
And pressure is mounting over claims of delayed alerts and emergency communications to let people know that flooding was coming. Here's Maribel Gonzalez with the latest.
Thank you very much.
A notably shorter news conference today in Kerr County, Texas. The only speaker, Kerrville Police Sergeant Jack Lamb, giving only a brief update on the dead, the missing, and the ongoing search and recovery efforts.
It is a methodical search which ensures that every area in an area to be searched is covered and searched and that no stone is left unturned.
Unlike previous daily briefings, a number of county officials did not attend as questions and concerns swirl around delayed or non-existent emergency alerts ahead of last week's catastrophic flash flooding.
Did the inability of police radios to communicate directly with county radios hamper rescue or recovery efforts as those waters rose?
I don't have any information to that point.
And when asked what changes have been made ahead of the next heavy rain,
I think that's an important question, and that's something that we're going to be looking at.
Kerr County Sheriff wasn't at the podium this morning, but said Wednesday a response timeline will come.
I want that answer, and we're going to get that answer.
In answer, some flood survivors say they already know.
And I didn't have any alerts until the water was already inside the house.
There was no advance warning.
Texas's governor says state lawmakers will hold a special legislative session later this month to discuss flood warning systems, emergency communications, and a victims relief fund. In Kerrville, Texas, I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
And right now, you can help the victims in Texas. Just scan this QR code on your screen. When you click that, it'll take you to a link where you can make a donation to the Tegna Texas Relief Fund. It's started by our parent company, Tegna. The money is going to support the ongoing and long-term response to these devastating floods because the response is going to take months and months. It is just massive.
All right, well, we will keep our eyes on everything that's going on in Texas and be able to update you. Let us talk about weather. Rob Ellis is here. He is back after a little vacation.
Welcome back.
It's happy to be back.
Rested and refreshed?
Yeah, are you enjoying the heat?
Or do you need a vacation from the vacation?
No, you know what? I actually am glad to be back. I like the heat, as we've talked about so often. I like when it's muggy and hot and humid, and that's just what I love.
It's summer, it's July.
Exactly. So, of course, that welcomed me as I came back.
I'm so happy you're back because I get outnumbered when you're not here.
Yes.
Everyone just complains.
Here's the good news. We've got that for quite a while longer.
Okay.
It doesn't look like that pattern's going to break anytime soon, which is why the flood flooding has been happening in some of the locations. The humidity has been high. Let's kind of go with where we are temperature-wise, because that's been part of the story today, is just that the temperatures have been warm and are likely to be warm all the way through the weekend and even into early next week. 89 is where we sit currently. We have also been watching where we are when it comes to the humidity. That's been leading to some pop-ups, but not every single day has had the same chance. What I mean by that is when we look at the radar today, there's a couple of showers and storms that have popped up closer to Champaign, a couple little farther to the south into parts of Bloomington. Been watching some of these. The thing about these is they've been very quick to pop up, very quick to die back down. The chance that we'll see any of these last too long is really not going to be there for you today. They may move on a bit. They are producing a good bit of heavy rain at the time, but they should be quick to move on through. So if you're one of the unlucky few that gets one of those quick downpours, it's likely going to be very short-lived. Temperatures are currently into the upper 80s, but the heat index values are into the 90s. I think that's going to stay with us for the next several days. Through this evening, we'll cool the temperatures back down through the 80s into the 70s, but just barely into the 70s. Mostly clear skies are expected for tonight. 70 is what we have for our overnight low, so kind of a muggy overnight. Tomorrow, back to 90. We're going to talk more about heat index values, and I'll be back in a bit with a look at traffic with some interesting video that's going to be coming up here in just a moment.
Okay, you work on that. A man is under arrest tonight facing a preliminary charge of driving while intoxicated, and it led to a deadly crash. It happened around 2 this morning on 465 near the Sam Jones Expressway. Indiana State Police say a car hit a concrete median before an oncoming motorcycle ran into it. That motorcyclist was thrown from the bike and killed. The road was closed for hours before reopening this morning.
All right, now let's get that traffic update. Here's Rob.
Yeah, here's the issue we're looking at. Most of the traffic is really problematic on 70 eastbound, closer to the city, and also on 465 northbound. But I want to take you in to 70. If you're exiting 70 and you're trying to get off at Shadeland, this is the exit ramp. 70 eastbound, you come around that curve, and that is a bit of a sharp curve. Unfortunately, if you're going too fast for that, and you have pallets that are on your truck that aren't secured, this is the result. And that is leading to the exit ramp, which is still allowing traffic to get by, which is good news. This would be the exit 70 eastbound to try to get off onto Shadeland Avenue. Everywhere else, it looks like things are looking okay. But look at some of the other traffic. This is that eastbound 70 shot that I mentioned where the traffic is really slowing down. Actually atypically busy for this time of day in that location. We're going to continue to see the volume pick up over the next maybe 30 minutes or so.
All right, thanks so much, Rob. And there is now a Wawa open in Indy.
And people all over the city are excited about that. Look, the mascot was there to greet him today, too. This is on 96th Street near North Keystone. They held their grand opening this morning. People who showed up for it, they got first dibs on some of Wawa's popular treats.
All right, so of course there's been a lot of excitement surrounding all the openings in Wawa, several stores. I think because the name is Wawa, like people like saying
I think so too. Oh, well, the hoagies are delicious, as you can see right here.
Yeah, well,
there was a hoagie making contest, actually.
Well, our crew learned that people were in line as early as 3 this morning.
Wow. People are crazy. They're Wawa. They're crazy for Wawa.
Wawa for Wawa.
Yeah, no kidding. The management tells us it's been great to get so much support from the community. Take a listen here.
We're a 200-plus-year-old company, and to now be here in the Midwest and in Indiana is particularly special. You know, it's really about fulfilling lives and also creating jobs as we grow in a state that is really, really exciting.
I didn't know they were here for so long, or around for so long.
Yeah, I mean, going Wawa for Wawa.
Wawa is also having, as we mentioned, crazy about the hoagies, the Hoagie Fest. There's a Hoagie Fest going on until the 27th with sandwiches as low as $5.
Did I see a milkshake?
I think so. I think they've got those too.
More important questions. Look, we ran out of video.
We did. We got to move on. We got to move on now.
Wawa.
Half a foot of rain in just one morning. Look at that. The widespread impact from unexpected flash flooding in Boston. That's next.
And this ain't Texas, but Beyonce fans are still searching for that Cowboy Carter realness. The financial impact the tour is expected to have in Atlanta starting tonight. Her song goes, "This ain't Texas."
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, you know, I try.